I'm Edmund Marriage. I'm now talking to Peter Watts. Peter Watts is an electrical engineer who has spent a large part of his life being involved in studying mathematics and looking at our ancient ancestors and their measurements and what they were doing. Peter came onto the scene with our network, so to speak, with a major press release of the work of Tom Brooks. And Tom Brooks had spent 30 years or more of his life looking at the hilltop camps, some called hill forts, but hilltop camps and markers and mounds which exist over the whole of the British Isles. I think there are something like 100 or more mounds, rather like Silbury Hill, but smaller versions of Silbury Hill. And Tom realised that they were all connected onto a giant survey of the British Isles from very early times, from the times we had the first farmers coming into Britain, and about 4000 BC, Exmoor we've got clear dates of 4000, Dartmoor 4200, Bodmin Moor actually much earlier than that on Bodmin Moor, but the research is ongoing. But we clearly have people who come in, take advantage of 2 degrees warmer climate, higher rainfall, but a very productive, wonderful place to live in the British Isles. And so people who were migrating from climate change in the Near East came into Britain, and with them came the surveyors who needed to measure and survey the whole country. And we have an extraordinary situation now where Peter's mathematics, Tom Brooks' surveying, Christian O'Brien's work, Professor Hapgood's work on maps of the ancient sea kings, Professor Luigi Staccini, many other scholars who realised that the Earth had been mapped in great detail in ancient times. And Tom Brooks and Peter, who saw the press release on Tom Brooks's work, and said, wow, I'm going to get in touch, and did. And so Peter and I are here talking at the Stars and Stones Forum, Winter Forum, Bury St Edmunds, and I'm going to put a few questions to Peter so that we can elaborate and expand the basis of our current knowledge now on just how sophisticated our ancestors were and the incredible mathematics which they used. So Peter, give us your sort of overview of the mathematics.
Well, I find it quite extraordinary, actually. Perhaps I better tell you how it all started for me, which was after I retired. I joined the U3A Latin group in Bridgewater, and our tutor suggested that us students in turn put on a talk once a month about something Roman. So I was looking for material for this, and I came across this illustration in a book of a Roman sun shadow clock. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. Definitely enough material for this small talk. And then I thought, it's such a big area, about the size of a tennis court, that this must have been based on a simpler model. So what would that simpler model be? Well, as an engineer, there was no contest. It was immediately, within a couple of minutes, I thought, I would use a 3, 4, 5 foot right angle triangle. So I developed this model, and out of sheer interest, I wondered what the angles would be and what the height of the poles would be. Well, the first coincidence that I found was the latitude angle given by the pole to the centre of my model. If used at Stonehenge, it would give an angle of about just slightly less than 1/7 of a circle, or a revolution. As an engineer, I thought, well, I would immediately walk to somewhere where it was exactly 1/7 of a revolution, or a circle. And of course, that's what Stanton Drew is. It's exactly 1/7 of a revolution. And then I thought, well, there is another problem. We have to get a standard foot rule, and I realised that this could be done at Stanton Drew circles and other circles to get what is commonly called a megalithic yard, which in turn would give us a standard foot rule. Once you got the standard foot rule, you could return to Stonehenge and work on the height of the pole rather than the angle, because a linear measurement is much easier to measure than a circular measurement. So at Stonehenge my model would be just over 22 inches. So once again I thought, as an engineer, to ease the mathematics I would walk to somewhere where the pole height was exactly 22 inches. And of course that corresponds to the Stonehenge, to the Silbury and Avebury site. And then I thought, well, this is a fantastic development. Here we have a model which would give three measurements. It would give the time of the year in the vertical axis, in other words a calendar, and the west to east axis it would give the time of the day, and of course it would give the latitude. So we could use this model anywhere in the world. So I thought, if it's used anywhere in the world, let's take a look at some of the major archaeological sites and see whether my model would work. So the first place I tried was Babylon. So I looked in my trusty old school atlas, found the angle, put it in a very simple program which I developed on the computer, and out popped the answer straight away, 44 inches, which of course is twice the Silbury. And so it went. I dialed in latitudes for important sites such as the Minoans, 39 inches. The Great Pyramid, which is very close to Cairo, I dialed in Cairo, 30 degrees, and it gave me a model pole height of 48 inches, which I regard as a special case because the 48-inch pole corresponds to the east to west 4 foot of my model. And indeed, the Great Pyramid is a special case. It's the highest pyramid that was made. So it went on. I tried important archaeological sites in the land of the Maya. We have Palenque and Tikal, and that gave a model pole height of 88 inches. And the important site just north of Mexico, the Aztec site, that gives 77 inches. And I tried one or two pyramids, or one or two of the Babylonian pyramids. They call them ziggurats, and they all appear to come in very tight bands, starting from 43 inches, 44, 45, 46, going down to 47 inches. And I thought, well, this is fantastic, and so then I began to develop the concept that these pyramids and ziggurats were, if you like, expanded version of my model, and even that seemed to work. And then I thought, well, it seems to me that a lot of these pyramids are scale models of the Earth, and even that seemed to work. The mathematics seemed to fit in absolutely wonderful. So it developed. I got more and more interested, and did a lot of research, and came to some quite interesting conclusions. The interesting way of obtaining a standard length, standard foot measurement, is that you get a long piece of string and tie it to a central peg, mark a circle, and scribe it in the earth with a twig or something. And initially you don't need any particular dimension as long as it's quite large. And you just take a bough of a tree, place it round the circle, and adjust the bow until it fits in the circle 366 times. So then you come out at night and observe the transit of a star behind two posts, whilst you have a string and stone pendulum, and my calculations show that it would be what I call the first version of the megalithic yard. So the interesting thing is that when you develop this concept, you start off with a 366 segment circle, then you move to a 365 segment circle, which gives a slightly different megalithic yard version, which I've called megalithic yard version 2, and that corresponds exactly to Professor Alexander Thom's 2.72 megalithic yard.
Back to Professor Thom, Christian O'Brien, and many of those scholars and practical men who now recognise the importance of the megalithic yard and how it is constructed. So for every Girl Guide and Boy Scout out there, if you want to start off on this trail, get a stick, go out on a sunny day and follow the shadows of the sun, add to it your Pythagorean triangle, and you can be doing what all the children in Sumeria were doing, as you showed in your lecture, working out these things in school, simple tables, and this was something which was common to all the children at the time. And what we've done, I think, or you've done, and all our other key figures have done, and I'd say Hapgood, Stachini, O'Brien, Thom, Brooks, Alexander Thom, yourself, have now proved the overwhelming evidence to show that ancient man and his stick and his shadow provides the basis for all our calculations and measurements and standard units of measurement way back to the time of the oldest city at Jericho.
That's right.
And to show that the solutions of this planet are actually quite simple if we approach them in a simple, practical way. And this is what our master craftsmen used to do and what we can get them to do again.
That's right.
So thank you for that.